Hello. So today's going to be something a little bit different than usual. Basically, because there's been a large influx of viewers on my channel as well as subscribers, I'm very thankful. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure to subscribe because we did reach our sub goal of an RP giveaway, which I'll talk about a little bit later. The main thing I want to say is that a lot of people are looking up like rerolling, as well as my reroll videos do really well. And a lot of people are looking up like reroll guides according to like my YouTube suggestions for like content and stuff. So I decided, yeah, sure, I can do like a quick little reroll guide. So what this will do is I'll go over 1, 2, and 3 cost rerolls, as well as give you like a general game plan and understanding how to play around these units, especially if you're a beginner. A lot of times you'll hear terms like fast 8, fast 9, reroll this, reroll that, and you might just be confused. It's like, aren't I supposed to just like spend all my gold and buy a bunch of units and that's TFT? And it's like, yeah. But sometimes there's like some specific nuances and there's general strategies and game plans that all come together that can help you be a lot more successful in your games. If you already play a bunch of TFT, this might not be the most useful content for you, but you can kind of do it like a mental checklist, you know. Hopefully you still enjoy it, and then we'll go back to what my normal content is on the channel, which is just like VOD reviews and going over games. So anyways, without much ado, let's just start. So in terms of like comps, right, if you think about like when I'm talking about compositions, there's like fast 8, fast 9, whatever. The idea of a reroll comp, if you don't know, basically is rerolls basically is that you're taking a low cost unit. So for example, like let's look at this Tom Kench board with Bard. You see that there's like 3 stars. Whenever you talk about a reroll, what you really mean is that you're getting a 3-star copy of a unit. That's the main thing that you're trying to do. And why are you getting a 3-star copy of the unit? Well, a lot of these higher cost units, like 4 costs and 5 costs, there's very few of them in the pool because it's a shared pool in TFT. So you're not typically trying to hit a 3-star 4 cost or a 3-star 5 cost. They're very strong as a 1-star or 2-star copy, right? It's kind of like power creeping, right? If you buy like low cost units, like let's say this Kog'Maw, right? A Kog'Maw 1 and a Kog'Maw 2 is very easily outpaced by a 4 cost or a 5 cost unit, right? If you look at some of the best boards in the game, obviously things are changing. This is the day of a new patch, so everything's kind of shaky and kind of moving around a little bit. But there's a lot of boards where you don't really play many 1 cost, 2 cost, right? A lot of times you're building these boards around playing multiple 4 cost and 5 cost because they're just better quality units. So how do you keep up with that? Well, the way to keep up with it is that you take your low cost units and you basically upgrade them multiple times. You buy 9 copies of them. In sense re-rolling, so you keep rolling your shop at a low level to make sure that you hit a 3-star version of it, so that their relative strength and the gold investment on the unit is comparable to you leveling and playing towards high cost units. In an ideal TFT world, there's a variety of strategies, and that's what makes the games very fun. Sometimes you'll have patches where it's dominated by rerolls. Sometimes you'll have patches where it's primarily no rerolls, right? The main reason is that rerolls kind of help each other, right? If one person is rerolling in a lobby, then they're buying a bunch of units that you don't need. And if you're rerolling another comp, you're buying a bunch of units they don't need. And you're basically thinning out the pool because everybody's buying the same cost unit. And then you end up hitting a situation where everybody's hitting 3 stars, right? We even saw that with 4 costs, which is typically uncommon because 4 costs were so prevalent in the last patch. Everybody's doing 3-star 4 costs because the pool was so thin that all you see in your shops are the ones that you need, and all other people see are the ones that they need. Anyways, without much ado, let's just consider. So without much ado, let's just go into like the actual guide. So when should you consider rerolls, right? Rerolls, you need certain conditions, right? The only time that you don't need conditions for a reroll is when a reroll comp is really not balanced and is really fucking broken. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes there's reroll comps that are so broken that they define the meta. But typically, rerolls are kind of like a win early, fall off late kind of strategy, right? You're trying to spike really early because you're rolling for 3 stars. So while other people are using their gold to level, they haven't even hit their board yet, and you're already like a really strong board, right? So that's the idea. It's always, the way you should think about it is strong early. That is the most important thing with a reroll comp. You always want to be strong early because you will fall off later because you won't have the gold to invest in leveling as well as hitting like 5 cost units, for example, right? So when should you consider reroll? if you have a lot of copies of a particular low cost unit, what I would say is like you should always like consider like 5 as the break point. 5 is like the over halfway marker. If you have 5 copies of a unit, that is a really good reroll spot, right? If you have anything less than 5, you have to have other situations that make it really good for you, right? You have to have good items for your reroll units, right? Remember, I'm going to write it again because I have to ingrain this into everybody's head. You have to be strong early, right? With a reroll comp, if you do not have the items early, you are sending for your units, right? Let's say you're playing a reroll comp that is a 1 cost reroll comp. You will need to hit that 3-star very early, or else you will lose a bunch of HP. If you're not strong early, and you don't have items to slam on it, you can't wait till item drop on wolves or item drop on dragon to finish your items, because you have your carry and you have your board really early. So it's very narrow. You're not very flexible in what you can do. So you need the items for the reroll units so you can slam them and put them on early. You can't sit with a bunch of components on your bench and say, I'll get them eventually, because you're just losing HP. And then by the time you get your items, you'll just die because everybody will be stronger than you. You have to get a good reroll unit or specific augment, right? There's things like mulched for dryads. There's things like 2 for 1, right? Which gives you 2 copies of a unit every time you buy it, right? These are like enabling augments that either help like as a really strong combat for a particular reroll comp, or it gives you a lot of copies of other units and it allows you to easily hit your board, which then makes you stronger, which you can play around and then win the game, right? If you don't have like good augments for rerolls, you can't just like, you know, put the circle in the square hole, so to speak, right? Then some rerolls have particular conditions. We'll talk about it in a bit, so I won't go over this point too much, but Dryad, for example, is one that has a very strong condition that you need to be strong early or else you usually just die. The other thing is that you cannot be contested, right? With reroll comps, because you need to hit a 3-star version and you need to be a strong early, right? You need to have like relative ease of actually like hitting those units. Even if somebody is not specifically going for a reroll, the same reroll as you, like they're not rerolling the same unit, what you need to do is you need to make sure that there's not a bunch of people in the lobby holding the particular units, or you have to also look at their board and predict, will they want to put this unit on their board eventually? What ends up happening a lot of the times is that you don't hit, and you basically never hit your 3-star. You just low roll, you roll a bunch of gold and you hit nothing. Then you're broke, you're low level, and you have no copies of your units, and you just lose the game instantly, right? Reroll sometimes can be like that. It can be very 1st or 8th based on variance, right? You can hit everything really early and go first because you'll be so strong that you'll just like kill everybody off before they have a chance to like make a really strong board. Or you'll just hit nothing and you'll just go guaranteed last place because everybody else is just leveling up and buying better copies of units, right? So that's something that happens. This is another condition. It's not something to satisfy, but sometimes if you're too broke, like this happens a lot with 3-cost rerolls. Sometimes if you look at your spot and you're like, I can't reasonably level to level 8 here and roll for a 4-cost unit because I don't have enough money. Sometimes it's like, okay, I have a couple copies of a unit, like I'll just play towards a reroll, right? Sometimes reroll can work as an out, just to salvage placements, right? A lot of times if you're playing it from a spot like this, you're not going for like 1st or 2nd or 3rd. You're usually just like, okay, I'll try and play for 4th here and try and save my LP by just like going for that reroll. And ideally you want all these conditions to be met. Maybe not like the last one. The last one's just like a little like, hey, you can also do this type of thing. But ideally you want all these conditions to be met, or you have to have something that's so overpowering, right? Like if you have like 5 copies of a unit, maybe you can greed your items because you'll be super strong. Maybe if you have like a really good augment and really good items and really good conditions, maybe you'll just like, okay, I'll hit the unit later, right? Like there's some times where like the spot can change a little bit. Okay, so now let's go through examples. So hopefully that wasn't too much talking. I know it's a little bit front loaded, but I just really wanted to get through those points. So the first thing is we'll start with 1-cost rerolls, right? So in particular, when you have, this is one not to reroll. I won't really go over this, but basically like if you're contested, if you're too far behind on HP, if you can't meet specific conditions, you shouldn't really be in a reroll spot and you should consider playing something else. 1-cost rerolls. So 1-cost rerolls are kind of hard to do sometimes. The only really like notable 1-cost comp is this one, which is the Kog'Maw comp, right? Typically, whenever you're rolling for units, you always want it to be kind of efficient, right? As you can see here, there's multiple 1 costs on this board, right? The reason is that you want to hit the 3-star version of each of these, right? When you roll down your gold, especially with rerolls, good reroll boards typically have multiple of the same cost unit. When you hit a 3-star version of any particular unit, you no longer see that unit in your shop. So it's actually very efficient to roll for Kog'Maw and Caitlyn and Malphite and Cho'Gath. That's why this board works really well, because basically as you buy copies of the Kog'Maw, it makes it easier to see other 1 costs. So it makes it easier to see Malphite, Cho'Gath, and Caitlyn. Then as you hit Malphite, it becomes easier to hit Cho'Gath and easier to hit Caitlyn. And then when you hit Cho'Gath, it's easier to hit Caitlyn. It's efficient rolling because you're buying all of the same costs, so you're thinning out the pool for yourself basically to buy the copies of the units that you want. When you're playing the reroll comp, typically what you want to do is you want to, if you're playing a 1 cost reroll, you never want to pre-level, right? Because you want to see the low level shops of level 3 and level 4. If you don't pre-level, then by the time you get to stage 3-1, you'll still be level 4, which is really important. So you don't want to pre-level. You need particular units and the item stage 2. When you're doing a 1 cost reroll, most of your game is decided on stage 2 to stage 3. Right? Because you're rolling for a very low cost unit, so you have to do much of the work at the low levels, right? What you want to do is you want to econ up. Don't get baited. Don't start rolling on 3. It's a very situational thing. You want to econ up as much as you can, and you probably want to sack stage 2, right? Which means you just want to guarantee lose most of stage 2. Now, I know that I said strong early before. 1 cost rerolls are a little bit different because you're so dependent on the units and the items early. You need to guarantee that your carousel pick is something that's very beneficial to you. If you play a really strong board stage 2, you might get screwed over by carousel pick. Then on Krugs, you might get screwed over by Krugs, and then you don't get good items, and you'll have like no items for your 3-star units that are like really good for them, right? So that's why you want to make sure that you sack stage 2, guarantee your carousel pick. You also have to already start off with units and good items, because if you don't have that, then you shouldn't even be considering the 1 cost reroll. And then you roll above 50 gold on stage 2, and then on stage 3-1, you basically roll to 30 gold. You never want to roll below 30 gold unless you have a reason to. The reason is because 30 gold will help you reestablish your econ, and will make because basically, like, if you have 30 gold, then the next turn you can make 40, and then you can make 50, and then you're back to like a stable earning 5 gold per round. If you send it to like 0 every turn, then you're never getting interest, and then you never really you're just behind so much gold relative to the rest of the lobby that's not worth it, right? So you always, if you can, stay above 30 gold. And then you econ and you try and win out the rest of the game. Now, I don't have a video to show you a 1 cost reroll in particular. But I do have a couple, like, I never played Kog'Maw is what I mean to say. I do have videos, so if you watch my channel, I usually do VOD reviews. So I'm not going to go over the top, like, detailed into specific comps per se. But I will show you some examples from some of my previous videos where I do go into comps, I do go over stats, I do talk about items, because that's what my channel mainly is, right? So in this case, if we look at what I have, right, I'll show you my spot, and you'll see why it's a really good reroll spot. Now, reroll isn't necessarily just because of the units. So what I have is I hit Lucky Paws, right? Lucky Paws is extremely strong. It's an extremely strong augment, so it's like an enabling augment. You're basically playing Kabuko reroll, right? If you look at Lucky Paws, I already had a Kabuko on my bench, right? I have good Kabuko items because Redemption is a very good Kabuko item, and I already have a Bruiser, right? I already had this Rek'Sai, so I have a good opener for it, right? I have a good starting position to play the Kabuko spot. I have good items for it. The augment is an enabling augment, so that's why I'm even going for the reroll. And I know that this is really strong based on like me having an understanding of it. So basically what I do is I don't pre-level or do anything. This is me in the video. I'm going over my own video, so I show stats and I explain certain things, right? But as you see, I kind of just sack stage 2, right? As you can see, I don't pre-level. I'm still level 4. I'm winning some fights, but I'm not trying to. I'm trying to like get my item on carousel. And as you can see, I have 2 items on Kabuko, so I'm already really well off, right? Before we even hit Krugs, I have 2 items on my main unit. That means that I'm in a good reroll spot. And I also have multiple copies of the Kabuko, right? I'm only 2 off, right? So if we skip ahead just a little bit, this might be a long video, so I'm trying to like breeze through these examples because this is already there's already a 40-minute video on my YouTube channel going over Kabuko reroll. There's actually 2 of them, so like I'm not at any point, like, if you want to see like specific guides on specific comps, you can check out my YouTube channel for the other ones. But as you can see here, so what do? I actually want to show this roll that I'm skipping a little bit ahead by accident. So this is after Krug, so 3-1, right? Remember what I said? If you're going for a 1-cost reroll, 3-1, you send it, right? So I'm sending it to at least 30 gold, right? I'm 1 off Kabuko, so I can roll deeper. I didn't have to roll that deep. I'm above 40. And because I want to be strong early, I level to 5. And I just play my extra unit, right? So now I have Kabuko 3. I'm very strong. And I'm strong early, right? If you look at this, like I'll skip ahead a bunch, hopefully. Sorry, YouTube's lagging a little bit. Let's skip like a bunch ahead. As you can see, like I didn't lose a single fight like all the way until like stage 4, right? I'm just slow leveling, going to level 8, going to level 9. I'm capping out my board around higher cost units. See, I have a Silas now, right? Somewhere on here, I have Sage in, right? And that's the thing, right? You just make it to you stabilize really early, you're strong early, you win out because all the people that aren't going for a 3 cost are going to be inherently weaker than you. Even if there is a high roller, you'll still preserve a lot of HP. And then look, depending on how much HP you preserve and how much HP you lost on stage 2, you basically just try and outlive most of the lobby and cap out your board really high, right? That's the idea with a 1-cost reroll. Some people love them. I don't particularly like 1-cost rerolls, but if you have a good enabling spot for it, I'll go for it. Now, 2-cost rerolls are very similar to 1-cost rerolls in that you have to make your decisions very early, right? So typically, before you even pick your augment, you need units as well as items on stage 2. If you don't have these conditions met, you're probably not going to do really well because you can't really rely on Krugs to drop you everything that you need, and you can't rely on like the later ones to drop you everything that you need because you need to be strong early, right? Basically on stage 2, you don't necessarily have to sack unless you're like really need a certain item for a certain unit, but typically because you have a little bit more wiggle room, your units are a bit more expensive and you're going to stabilize a little bit later than 1 cost. You can also just play strongest on stage 2. I prefer to play strongest, honestly, because I just like to have the HP to work with. I typically spend my econ to preserve HP. I'm more aggressive with my money as a playstyle. It's not necessarily that good because I miss out on a lot of opportunities to cap my board really high because of it. But I always try and play like a strongest board for a lot of the time, just to make sure that I guarantee a top 4 placement. Right? That's just my play style, but up to you. You can also greed and try and get a component on carousel by sacking. Then on 3-1 and 3-2, you send it for upgrades, right? When I say upgrades, you're not sending it for a 3-star because it's going to be impossible, because it's going to be difficult. You want to basically level to 6 and go for upgrades, right? Typically on stage 2, you want a natural or find without rolling 2 copies of whatever unit you're trying to reroll. So that way on 3-1 or 3-2, you just have to find 1 copy, which is pretty easy to do. So you roll until usually around 30 gold. You don't want to drop below 30 gold, and you want to upgrade those units just to make sure that you're strong, because that's like your stabilization point, right? And you're going to roll for some upgrades. Then as you're level 6, you just rebuild your econ over the next couple turns. Then above 50 gold, you're rolling on stage 3 for copies. And then the big thing is on 4-1, it can be either 4-1 or 4-2. It depends on your lobby, right? If you're strong, if you feel like you're strong and you have enough HP, you can do it on 4-2. But you want to roll deep for 3 stars, right? Why? Because you want to stay ahead of the lobby. Or you want to send it down to 30 gold. Hopefully you naturaled some more copies. If not, your reroll position is pretty bad. And early stage 4, you want to hit your 3 stars, right? As early as possible, because everybody else is going to be going for, in stage 4, they're going to be going for 4 costs. Maybe they have 5 costs. Maybe they have 2-star 4 costs, whatever. In order to like compete with that, if they have a 2-star 4 cost, your 2-star 2 cost isn't going to do shit all, right? But what you need to do is you need to upgrade that to a 3-star so that it's comparable in strength and that you can actually win, and you preserve the HP all of stage 4, and then stage 5, depending on how high roll or low roll your game is, you might win, you might lose, who cares? You'll probably be a top 4 if you followed and everything is working out here, and basically the rest of the game you're just trying to cap out your board really high, right? So if we think back to like the original thing that I was talking about, I was saying like reroll conditions have to be met. A really strong reroll comp. Last patch, obviously there's a new patch that just dropped today. There's maybe a new reroll comp that might come out, which is Riven reroll. I don't want to talk about it because I don't know exactly how strong it is because I haven't tried it out myself. But last patch, one of the most dominant reroll comps out of all of them was Kindred Gnar. And the reason Kindred Gnar is really strong is because the Dryad trait, let me try and hover it. I think it should say, yeah, there we go. So basically what Dryads do is it gives you health per enemy death, right? Gnar as a unit, if you look at his passive, he gains attack damage upon like getting hit and all of that. And then like, so basically like the Gnar kind of scales as a passive where he gets these stacks, which is really important. And then the Dryad trait also stacks in terms of like permanent health based on enemies killed. So with Dryad, typically you want to play Dryad from a position where you're very strong early. That's one of the conditions of Dryad, because stage 2 and stage 3 you need to get your Dryad stacks in, right? So it's really important that stage 2/3 you kill enemies. Why? Because if you don't kill the enemies, you don't get your Dryad stacks. If you don't get your Dryad stacks, your Gnar doesn't have health and your Kindred doesn't have health. If they don't have health, then they don't work as well as the melee carry with their kit that they scale into the fight, that you need them to live long enough and stall in order to like hit their like max potential, right? Like so what basically like with Dryad, you need 2 conditions in addition to like everything else. Typically you need, not only do you need the Dryad units, the Dryad items and all of that shit, what you also need is you need to have Dryad in early and strong. You need to be strong, right? So your augments, typically you really need to prioritize really strong combat. If you don't have upgrades to units, you have to prioritize like getting the upgrades early as possible, and you need to like tempo it, right? You need to be like ahead of the lobby, because the stronger you are, the more units you kill. If you're killing units, preserving HP, then the Dryad comp will scale really well into late game. And you can actually use this comp to play for first, right? It's not just like a reroll that falls off that you might like not make it there, make it to like end game. Sorry, this is my writing from the actual VOD review that I was using. So as you can see here, I'm just gonna skip ahead a little bit. I win some fights, I lose some fight, but I'm pretty strong because I took a strong combat augment as my prismatic. And a lot of the people in the lobby, they took some greedy augments. Not everybody in the lobby took a combat augment, so I'm inherently like a little bit stronger. I'm definitely gonna kill units, and I slammed items early, right? These aren't like the best items to slam, obviously, right? Like QSS is really good on Gnar, but you need a healing item as well. REROLL is really good on Kindred because he spreads it really well, but you need like a mana item or a damage item if you really want him to do work, right? So it's a little bit difficult sometimes, right? And now I'll show you like my stage 3-1. So 3-1, I'm level 5. I'm highlighting it from the video. So I kind of greed one turn because I'm a little bit broke, right? But as you can see, when I go to 3-2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll to stabilize my units, right? I have a Gnar, I have a Kindred pair, right? So I will slight roll. Oh, I guess I don't slight roll. So the reason I didn't slight roll, sorry, I forgot in this video it's circumstantial, right? Usually you would roll to get like a Gnar upgrade or a Kindred upgrade here. The reason I didn't is because I have the Syndra. So the Syndra is just going to carry me until later, and then I'll decide if I end up going for the reroll anyways. I think in this video, when I went over it, like I naturaled a bunch of copies of Kindred. So like if I skip to stage 4, yeah, as you can see, like this is my stage 4. I'm like 1 off Kindred. So I was rolling a little bit, but I'm going to send it basically to 0 in order to hit that. Right? And then I hit the Kindred. I don't hit the Gnar in this case because I'm really far off Gnar. But I just play around this Kindred. Right? And I have really good combat augments. And now I'm just going to roll for the last Kindred on stage 4 too. Like I said, stage 4 you want to hit as many 3 stars as you can. I kind of low roll. I roll really deep, right? I'm rolling below 30 here. right? But, you know, I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not lying to you guys. Right, I'm rolling below 30 because I was one off of the unit. I said that if you're one off of the unit, it spikes you so hard that it's like to guarantee your placement. It's not usually a good idea to greed. If you're one off the unit, you should just roll a little bit deep for it. And then I also leveled to 7 because I want to be strong as fuck. So I want to put in this this cane to make sure that my Reaper trait is active on the Kindred so that it does damage, right? That's like a little idea, a small little tutorial of what I was doing with the Kindred game, right? Another example of a 2-cost reroll is the Senna Shen board. You can also play Senna Nar, but this is like the Ghostly board. If you haven't seen it, it was very strong for many patches. It's kind of fell off a little bit, but it's still like a usable comp, right? When you're playing Ghostly, you have to hit multiple 3-stars. As you can see, like even with the Dryad board, I'm playing multiple 2-costs for efficient rolling, right? That's the important part of hitting playing a reroll comp, is that you have to roll efficiently. Every time you press the roll button, you want to be rolling for at least 1 or 2 units, right? I can upgrade Shen, I can upgrade Aatrox, I can upgrade Gnar, I can upgrade Kindred, right? And Kindred and Gnar are the ones that are 3-star. With the Ghostly board, it's very efficient. There's a lot of 2 costs. There's a lot of this 3 cost that kind of fits in really nicely, right? So with Ghostly, in this one in particular, the augment that I got was 2 for 1, which gives me 2 copies of any unit that I buy. 2 for 1 is very, very strong on 2-cost rerolls, or 2-cost and 3-cost rerolls specifically, because you save a bunch of gold, and there's a lot of levels like level 6, level 7 that all give you like a good span of hitting those units that you need, right? So as you can see, I hit upgrades really early. Because it's 2 for 1, this game's a little bit different. I roll a little bit more aggressively. So I'm kind of spiking on stage 3 rather than stage 4, right? But as you can see, this is stage 3. I basically like win streak most of it. And now I'm just rolling for all the 3-stars, right? So I can buy the Senna, right? And then as you can see, I'm 1 off Senna, I'm 1 off Shen. I roll pretty deep for it. I hit 3-star Shen. Because I hit 3-star Shen, I think I'm kind of stable. So I stay above 50 gold, and I say I'll just hit the Senna next turn, right? And then I hit the Senna next turn, right? That's like the general idea, the general game plan that you usually go for. 3-cost rerolls are a little bit... Oops, I need to like rearrange some stuff. 3-cost rerolls are a little bit different. 3-cost rerolls kind of play similarly to a 4-cost board. If you're not familiar with playing a 4-cost board, 3-cost rerolls, they're kind of rerolls, but they're not really rerolls. What I mean by that is that because the units are so expensive, it's very hard to hit them until you get to like a later level, right? Typically, like if you're playing 1-cost, you want to roll on level 4. If you're playing 2-cost, you want to roll on level 6, right? The reason is that these are like the max odds for that particular unit, right? Like, well, 1-cost, the max odds are like level 2, but you can't roll early because then you just don't make econ, right? 2-cost, level 6 is like the highest odds of hitting a 2-cost, but 3-cost, the highest odds of hitting it are on level 7, and it's not even that high, right? Because they nerfed it a lot. So that's what I mean. You can't commit super early to the idea of a 3-cost because then you might throw away a lot of placements, right? So in this case, you need some sort of direction stage 2, and you need maybe like even 1 copy of the unit sometimes is a good indicator that you're in a good reroll spot. You want to play econ or strongest around stage 2, right? Typically, like, because you have so much time to hit your 3-cost units, you're not really going for like a 3-star 3-cost like stage 3, right? A lot of times you're just trying to find an upgrade. You're trying to play very flexibly. You always want to have like some sort of a strong board because you need the HP in order to like actually hit your 3-star units without like losing out instantly after hitting. And basically, as soon as you can, you're leveling to 7, and then you're rolling above 50 gold to try and find the copies, right? If on 4-1 you feel like your reroll spot is good, this is what I mean. You have to play like the board, not like the reroll that's like cookie cutter. You have to try and figure out like, am I sacking? Am I playing strongest board? How can I build a strong board? You don't have to like build the board around the reroll unit that you're trying to build for much of the mid game. Like all of this time spent, you're basically just trying to build a board, right? And you can hold on to the units if you want to leave that reroll open. But the main thing is that like on 4-1, if you have the spot, then is when you should consider rolling super deep, because at that point you want to you want to upgrade and go nuts, right? And then stage 4, you're hopefully trying to hit, if you're high rolling, you hit on stage 4. If you're not high rolling, then you need to send it on stage 5 to 3-star, right? So that's when you resend it and you cap out your board. There's a couple options for rerolls with the one that's kind of always kind of stayed kind of relevant is the 3-star Aphelios 3-star Thresh. So basically you're rolling on for Faded and level 7. This is like an example board, right? I have them as 8 units here, but like there's many different variations of this because you can like replace this Ornn for like a Shen, and then you have Ghostly in. You can replace this Amumu for like a what's it called? You can replace Amumu for like what's his name? Set, and play 7 Faded, right? 7 Faded is probably is strongest with Aphelios. I haven't played Aphelios reroll in a really long time. But as you can look in this spot, like if you look early game, I don't really have any Aphelioses. I'm kind of just building like generic AP items to play towards like either a sniper or a Kaisa or something along those lines. At one point, Darius shows up, which shuffles the units on my bench. And I'm kind of like trying to play towards Faded just because it's a really strong opener, right? Faded opener helps you like stay really strong in streak, so it works really well with the idea of playing a reroll that you have to hit on stage 4, right? It can help you preserve a lot of that HP and make a lot of econ on stage 3, right? I natural a couple copies of the Thresh and the Aphelios, and I think like a lot later. Ooh, sorry for quality drop. Let's put that back to 720. Like as you can see, like towards late game, I kind of pivot into this Aphelios board because I do natural a bunch of copies of it, and then I reroll into it. This wasn't a particularly good reroll spot, as you can see, because even though like I pivoted into it and I rolled a bunch of the units, I'm like end of stage 4 pretty much, and I still don't have like all the copies of my units. I'm playing this way, right? But typically around this point you want to be like very close to hitting, right? I do have a lot of gold, and we'll see that like, you know, it kind of works out this game. I get a top 4. This was back in like beta, so it was like a very long time ago, so I was kind of just like forcing and trying out different things. I haven't really played 3-cost rerolls in a long time because all the patches that 3-cost rerolls were really strong, I just didn't play because it was annoying. I really don't like it when rerolls are dominant meta strategy, because if rerolls are really strong, then there's no reason for you to level to play around 4-cost and 5-cost, because everybody's going to be strong early and you're just going to lose all your HP. And if the 4-cost and 5-cost aren't even stronger than the reroll comps, then what are you doing? You're just sacking all your HP, losing to the rerolls. You level up to play a unit that's worse than the reroll unit. That's why I hate reroll metas, because it just forces you to play reroll. And then if you don't have a good reroll spot, you're basically just like playing like, oh, I cross my fingers, hopefully I hit. And it just feels like shit. But anyways, I hit Aphelios 3, I hit Thresh 3 super late. So obviously it's not, but it does, obviously it's not going to be like a top 1. I'm not going to get first this game, but I get like, you know, 4th or something, which is fine. So I have a summary. Before we do the summary, there's 2 comps that I did want to talk about that are a little bit weird, right? One of them is Arcanist, right? Some reroll comps are very like they take a little bit more skill. I don't know, I don't mean it in a mean way. I'm trying to find a word that doesn't sound like condescending or insulting. It's like they're more difficult. That's a way of playing it. The reason that the comp like Arcanist, it's one comp that I really like, but it is a little bit more difficult if you're just trying to like play reroll for the first time, or you don't know what you're doing, or you're very new to the game. If you look at it, like this is Lux reroll with just vertical Arcanist. There's different versions of this board, obviously. You can Google it, and there's like other ones that cap a little bit higher. This is the one that I really like because it's just very simple, and I've played this version a lot, so I know like how it stabilizes and how it plays really well. And I have a lot of videos on it as well. So with Lux, oh, I forgot to do my, okay, I'll do this something after this. With Lux is a 2-cost unit. But your front line, if you look at it, these are 3-cost units, right? This is a 4-cost unit, and your max cap is a 5-cost unit. What do I do here, right? If I roll all my gold on level 6, I'm not efficiently rolling because it's only Lux that I'm rolling for. that's the problem with comps like this where they're like mixed, right? So you have to play very flexibly here, right? If you find a lot of copies without rolling of Lux, then you can roll on 6, right? To try and hit the Lux 3 early. Or you want to roll on 6 for 5 copies at least of Lux before leveling, right? If not, you just want to level to 7 because you want to have a better chance of hitting all these other units that are also really, really crucial to your board. So you don't want to get stuck on 6 looking for this Lux. That's why your spot has to be really good to play this comp, right? You have to have a really good understanding of, oh, am I going to actually hit here? Do I have a good chance of hitting this Lux? Do I have good items for this Lux that I'll be stable once I hit the Lux, etc., right? Because you really need to hit a Mumu and a Laui in order to like actually get like a top 4, top 3, top 2, top 1. Right, if you hit the Lysandra, then you can maybe play for top 1. If you get an Arcanist +1 so that you're 8 Arcanists, you can definitely play for a top 1, right? But a lot of these units, in order to like finish your board is more complete on level 7, right? So whenever I play Lux reroll, like I think in this game, I just started the game with a Lux 2, right? It's Scuttle Puddle, but I got a Lux 2 on stage 1, right? Like this is already a Lux 2, and I have AP items, right? That's why this position is really fucking good for Lux, right? Let's be honest here, right? So I just have this Lux already. If we look, I natural like I think 2 more copies or some shit. I just make whatever items I can. JG isn't the best on Lux, but you know it's good enough. And then the same strategy applies, right? I didn't really have to roll for upgrades on stage 2, on stage 3-1, like I instructed you guys before, because I already have the upgrade, right? I'm fairly strong. I preserve a bunch of HP. I'm really strong in the lobby. And then I roll a little bit on 6, and then I level to 7, and I continue rolling on 7, right? So I did a hybrid, right? Like a hybrid strat. I rolled some on 6 and then some on 7, right? And then on level 7, I'm 1 off Lux, so I'm sending it very, very deep, right? Because I'm just trying to guarantee my placement, even though I'm pretty strong. That's why I'm rolling below 30 gold. You usually don't want to do that unless you're 1 off of a unit. So because I was 1 off of the Lux, I said, okay, I'll just send it, right? The odds of hitting a 3-star, 3 cost on level 7 isn't that bad. A 2 cost on level 7. This is actually previous patch. It's actually a lot worse for 3 stars now, which is kind of funny because I thought this was a recent video. But yeah, you need to hit these 3-star as well, and you need to hit this. I'm trying not to roll below 10 because going to like actually 0 is really fucking bad, because then you basically you can never stabilize, right? So it becomes very, 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 very bad. So you always want to have some level of econ in order to guarantee that you have some sort of comeback mechanic. And especially since I have a lot of HP, I can kind of greed a little bit, right? So I'm not going to send it to 0. I'm just going to send it to 10 every turn. But that's like the idea with Lux. The other one is like the Janna board. The Janna board is probably my favorite board to play because you're so flexible, right? You can play for Janna 3-star. It also works with Zyra 3-star. This is like the typical, like, you know, new one. You play AP Kale and you put like items on Janna, Zyra, and Diana. This is another board where it's actually very strong. Like, you have multiple options, right? You can play towards like the Janna at low level, right? Like as I kind of go through the tutorial here. But there's many different renditions of this board because the board really takes well to how do I phrase it? It takes well to 4 and 5 costs, right? Like if you look at this board, you can just play Dragon Lords, right? Because like the board synergizes with Dragon Lord Sage. So it's kind of like, you know, oh sorry, this is the wrong one. Oops, let me go back here. You can just play like Dragon Lords and Sage, right? Like you can play Rakan. You can play Wukong, right? There's a lot of 4 you can play Annie as well, right? There's a lot of like different 4 costs and 5 costs that really make this board extremely strong. So a lot of the times you have to be very creative in that, okay, I have a Janna. Do I go for Janna 3 or do I just level to play 4 costs? I have a Zyra. Do I go for Zyra 3 or do I level to play 4 costs? I'm holding these Dianas. Do I even need Diana? Because what if I just level and I play all of this shit? Right? Does it even matter if I hit Diana 3 at this point? No, because I have all these 4 costs and 5 costs as frontline units. I'm extremely strong, right? And then there's different variations of it, right? Like, let's say I don't want to play Nico, and I don't want to play Zyra or Zoe. It's like I can just play like vertical Dragon Lords and like play something like this at a lower level, right? So it's very, very flexible, and that's why like that comp, even though you might see it a lot, you can't like get stuck rolling at any one particular level. a lot of these times, like there's a lot of comps where they're 2 costs, but you want to roll on 7 for that reason, right? Like this Janna board, you almost never want to roll on 6 because there's so many high rolls you can get with random 4 costs that can greatly shape your game, right? More so than hitting the Janna 3, right? You don't even have to go for Janna 3, right? In this game, I play it pretty standard in that I just hit the Janna 3 early because I'm 2 for 1. But I'll show you, like, I'll skip ahead. I remember in this video I showed like 2 renditions, right? In this version, I just hit a bunch of 4 costs, right? With this board, and that's something you should always be aware of with rerolls, is that some reroll comps, like especially this Janna comp for example, you don't have to commit to the reroll. You can just use it to tempo, right? Because you're stable on stage 3, the strong part about the reroll is that you spent a little bit of gold on stage 3 upgrading your units, right? That's why you sent it on 3-1. At that point, you can just decide to bail out, right? On stage 4, if you have enough money to go 8, you can just say, okay, fuck it, I'm just not going to go for reroll. I didn't natural any copies of the units. I don't think I will hit, so therefore I will just level and go 8. And then you can just play around the 4 costs with like an upgraded backline unit. Over here, look, I have a Janna 2. I'm talking about in the game. I just leveled, right? I have a Janna 2, and I just went straight to 8, straight to 9. I think I won the game, right? Like look at my board. Eventually, I just sold the Janna because I have like a Rakan 2, a Silas 2, an Ashe 2, a Hwei 2. It's like, okay, the game's fucking over, right? Like, clean up, right? And that's something that can happen, right? The same thing happens with Arcanist sometimes, right? So these are some other Arcanist videos that I think I have to show you. This is one where it's like, you know, I got the target dummy, so I don't really get fixated on finding Luxes on level 6. Instead, I just kind of tempo to 7, and I try and go 8, I think. Yeah, so this is a spot where, because I have the Arcanist emblem, I really want to hit a Lysandra to get 8 Arcanist. Sorry, I think like, yeah. So I'm really just trying to get to 8 Arcanist basically. Oops, my video got paused. So here it's like a reroll spot that I get dropped an emblem, so I end up hitting the Zoe 3. Like you can see that I have a Zoe 3 on my board, so I'm playing the Arcanist version because I didn't hit a bunch of Luxes and I'm rolling deep on 7. I just put my items on Zoe, and now my Zoe is really strong. And then I just played to tempo to level, what level am I? I'm level 8. I found a Lysandra on Carousel, and I think I win this lobby because I find a way with my, like, I think I have a Mumu 3, a Laui 3, and a Porcelain emblem because it was just one of those games like that was like pretty high roll. And I just level, I play like strongest board. I even dropped some of the Arcanists to get Altruist because it's really important, and I went first, right? And that's like the important thing to think about with rerolls. Anyways, in summary, so first thing, before we do the summary, I'm gonna give you guys a small little message. Since we reached our subscriber goal, we will be doing a TFT RP giveaway. Yay! So what you have to do is you have to be subscribed to the YouTube, you'll join my Discord, you'll enter the giveaway in the Discord, and this will end May 5th. So basically you will go to the video, I'll put in the comments as well, but in the description you can click the Discord. There'll be a link to the Discord, and then once you get into my Discord, which is the Wolfgang Discord, there is in the text channels a TFT giveaway channel. You will go to this channel, and then you will enter the giveaway using this button right here. The giveaway I decided is going to be 2 winners of 475 RP. So good luck. The giveaway ends on May 5th. So the winners will be selected in the Discord, and then I'll contact you in Discord in order to get like your Riot account and all of that, so that I could gift you it through the client. Alright, so in summary, play reroll when you have a spot for it, right? I think I illustrated many different examples, and there's also tons of examples on my YouTube if you want to see a specific walkthrough of an entire game where I talk about each step along the way that I chose to do and what I thought would be better or worse, because I VOD review it. You have to save HP early to bleed out to a top 4. You always want to be strong early, right? If you're strong early, you make sure that you guarantee your top 4, because if someone high rolls and they hit some kind of giga board from Doom, you don't want to lose out because you're playing low cost units, right? Hitting the 3 stars of the units, unless they're really broken, a lot of times they will lose out to much more expensive, like full legendary, full 5 cost boards. So you want to make sure that you're strong early to guarantee that you bleed out to that top 4. When you're playing the game, you're almost always, depending on how rich you are, either 3-1 or 3-2, you're sending it for upgrades. It's really important to be strong stage 3. Sometimes you can decide to be weak stage 2, right? You can sack stage 2 to guarantee that you have items that you can slam that makes you very, very strong in stage 3. That is an option of a strategy, depending on what you have and what you want to do, especially with 1 cost rerolls. But stage 3 and stage 3-2, you need to have those upgrades. If you don't have those upgrades, you're probably not in a reroll spot. If you don't have 2 natural copies of a unit, why are you even trying to reroll the unit? Right? Let's be real here. It's not going to work out. It might work out. You might high roll. It might work out sometimes, but you're playing with a lot of variance, right? But if you have 2 copies of the unit, roll for the upgrades, right? You try and hit your 3 stars 4-1. If you're playing a 3 cost reroll, sometimes it's a little bit harder. You want to try and hit it like mid to late stage 4. If not, you need to hit them by 5-1, or else you're probably going to start to lose out. And then you always want to roll above 50 unless you're in danger, and you always want to stay above 30 gold, right? You want to stay above 30 gold to make sure that you rebuild your econ. Anyways, that is the guide. Hopefully it was informative. I hope it wasn't too rambly. It is a little bit long because there's a lot of stuff to explain, but hopefully with the examples as well as like supplementary, you can just look at the actual like VOD reviews that are on my YouTube channel that I was using as examples and check those out. And like I said, this was just because like a lot of people seem to be interested in rerolls according to my YouTube analytics. So hopefully this was informative and helpful for all of you. And you know, if you have any gripes or if you don't like anything, you know, oh well, I tried my best. But that's pretty much like a little crash course on how to play reroll. Maybe I'll do more guides. If people want more guides, make sure to let me know in the comments. And also enter the giveaway for the RP. It's going to end in a couple days. Bye bye.